Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Scale with Clarity. One of the things I love about these conversations I have is hearing the winding paths that lead people to the businesses they've built today. Because so often the versions of success we're living now isn't the version we would have planned 5 or 10 years ago. Today's guest is Lauren Bercuson, founder of StoryLock Legal and a trademark attorney who helps founders protect the brands and businesses they're working so hard to build. But what I found especially interesting about Lauren's story is that entrepreneurship wasn't part of some long-term master plan. After building a successful legal career, life took her in a different direction when her son faced significant health challenges. She stepped away from the traditional legal path, spent years working as a school librarian, discovered a creative outlet through blogging, and eventually found her way back to law on her own terms. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the seasons that feel like a pause, a pivot, or even a step away from our careers are actually preparing us for what's next. In our conversation, Lauren shares the journey, what it was like to rebuild her confidence as she returned to the legal world, how she found her niche serving female founders, and why protecting your brand is something every business owner should be thinking about earlier than they probably are. Whether you're building a product-based business, a service-based business, or simply figuring out what you want your next chapter to look like, I think you'll find a lot to relate to in this one. Here's my conversation with Lauren Bercuson. Welcome to Scale with Clarity, the podcast for entrepreneurs who are building a business and a life that actually feels good. I'm Brooke Cunninger, fractional CFO, strategist, and mom of 3. And I've learned that scaling isn't just about hitting revenue milestones. It's about finding alignment between your big vision and your everyday reality. Each week, you'll hear honest conversations with founders who are redefining success on their own terms. We'll talk about the pivots, the aha moments, and the tough decisions behind the scenes. Plus, the surprising ways entrepreneurship becomes the greatest personal growth journey of all. Whether you're dreaming of leaving corporate, navigating the messy middle, or trying to grow without burning out, this show is here to help you scale with more clarity, confidence, and ease. Because building a business should expand you, not deplete you. Let's scale with clarity together. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm good. I talked to you before we started recording. First of all, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I am happy to have you. I know this is why I told you before we recorded, I love doing the podcast because I get to meet amazing women like yourself and just have great conversations. And before we even recorded, I feel like I just jumped into your home. You have a lot going on personally,
Yeah.
not just today, but I know you've moved, business stuff. We've gotten conferences we're going to. So thank you for carving out time just to chat with us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can we start by just you introducing your business and what you do currently?
So, again, I'm Lauren Bercuson. I'm a trademark lawyer in Miami, Florida. So I help female founders primarily protect their brands and businesses with things like trademark registrations, copyright registrations, and stuff of that nature. So if you are building it and putting in your blood, sweat, and tears, then you deserve to own what you're building. And that's what I help women do.
I love that. I love that. And there's a little bit of a shiver of a fear that comes up. It's like, oh God, I need to get everything in control and like covered. So I want to dig into all of that too, because I think there's a lot that, since I come from a finance background too, I think it's a similar thing. Legal and finance people just are like scared of it. Like, what am I missing? What do I not know? And so having someone like
brain shut off.
Yes. And they're like, I don't know it, but I'm also scared of it. And so just having someone like yourself that you can just be like, listen, we got this. Like, it's fine. And it's not like too much to like.
Right. It's not scary.
It doesn't have to be scary. So I want to dig into all that. But I'd asked you beforehand if you're okay with this too, because part of this podcast is also talking about like your own story starting businesses. Because I think a lot of our listeners are early stages of starting. They just left corporate. They're questioning it. They've just started. They're solopreneurs. They're trying to build it too. And so I love also hearing the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And so I was hoping maybe we could start there too, because your background is, you used to be in corporate, right? You were a corporate lawyer. Is that correct?
Not a corporate lawyer, but I worked at, law firms.
Yes.
So my story is a little crazy. So I started practicing about 20 years ago. I was trained at a very prominent IP intellectual property boutique firm here in Miami. Loved the trademark side, but was also a little bit nervous to pigeonhole myself too early.
Yeah.
So I jumped then. I did some commercial litigation, which hated. Then I clerked for an appellate court judge for a while. Loved being on, the back end. It was very cool
Yep.
to see the behind the
Yeah.
scenes and to write opinions and all of that. And then when I had my boys, I have two children. They're 13 and 11. And they're wonderful, but obviously, as you can imagine, it changed my life considerably.
Same story.
Yeah.
Same story. I almost was fighting it, but it like, I just like not acknowledging how much having
Right.
kids can change your
Everything.
Yeah.
So my little one had some pretty severe health complications as a child, and it caused me to really have to take a step back from the law because I kind of needed to be on his time frame. He had a lot of therapy appointments and stuff of that nature. So
Yeah.
I had also taken up blogging on the side because I'm a huge reader, and
I love
with
it.
everything that was going on, blogging about children's books kind of like became my little,
Creative outlet, just
creative
to
outlet. So as I was doing that, my blog kind of took off. I was getting, books by all the big publishers by the day. And a job opened up as the librarian at my boys' private school where they were. They were, in the early childhood program. And everyone was like, "You have to apply." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a librarian."
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Yes, but this is like the perfect thing for you right now while the boys are small. I could be on my little one's schedule. I could bring his therapist onto campus." So lo and behold, I get the job, and I did that for several years. It was the biggest blessing and the best thing I could have done for my little one in our family.
Yeah.
But after a while, when he was on, a better path, I was okay. I need to I'm getting a little bored. So
Yeah.
I said, I want to open my own law firm. I want to do trademark work, but I really want to work with women who are building things because through my blog, I really met a ton of bloggers, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
Everyone started working from home, and I just met all of these amazing women who were building a ton of different kinds of businesses and didn't really know how to protect themselves. So I used kind of my last year at the school also as my runway. I joined Entreprenista. I started networking, started meeting people. And then by the time I was done at the school, I had already built a network
Lauren.
and had taken a couple clients and jumped in full force to entrepreneurship. And it's been about 3 years now.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So many things that I want to dive into really quick.
Yes.
So one, how, I can empathize while my little ones weren't sick and I had to leave, but just having kind of this sole focus to leave your job, which probably was a big part of your identity for a while to focus on that. How did you feel then going into the library and becoming a librarian? Was there any amount of like what was the egos telling you, or was there a long-term goal, or was it you were like, I'm still focused, I've got to get him to a good place, and like this is the right place for me now? Like what was going through as that stopgap that you were in right then?
That's a really interesting question. I don't think anyone has ever asked that before.
Do you mind that I asked?
No, not at all. I mean, it definitely comes with, I don't know that shame is the right word, but I definitely felt a little bit strange coming from, working at a prominent law firm, clerking for an appellate court judge, to then going to work in the library. I felt like it was a little bit weird, but at the same time, I knew, well, first off, my son is a stroke survivor. So I knew that I needed the emotional space. I needed to take a step back from the grind. And I needed to just really focus on his health and wellness and rehab. So I kind of put all that aside and I loved it. I mean, I was blogging. I love read. I'm still a huge reader. I'm not reading as many kids' books because my boys are, bigger now. But reading has always been such a huge part of my life that it was a wonderful gift to be able to work with kids every day and get them to love books.
Yeah.
And I think I did that really well. So it was kind of a mixed thing. I was ready to get back to law. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a strict pivot.
I just, and that's the reason I asked that, because not for anybody else to put shame out there, whatever, but I want to raise that because I had felt that way too leaving. And I think there's a lot of women I am a huge advocate of creating a business around your life, but you really have got to know what is your priorities and what's right. And by different phases of your life, and I'm still trying to tell myself, this is why I love these conversations, because you can be at a certain phase and that doesn't mean it's forever. So I think a lot of times when we've gone to school for so long and like, especially for me, the corporate, path I took, it was very much, whatever the next step is, but I didn't have time to really explore what was important to me. So which is why when kids came along, it was like this value, like I had to really take time. And so that's what I love about that part of your story is one, you were deeply aware of one of the values, which was like, I've got to be there for my son. Mm-hmm. And then also exploring this other avenue, which is your creative side, the books and kind of how that all like came together. And now looking back, like clearly that is what led you to where you are now, like being, so I love that you tell that story because I think others can pull from that is like, you never know where you've got to explore these different areas. And it's yes. And it really isn't, I don't even want to put the words of a step back because that's not even what it was. But I think we can often tell ourselves that if we've like been on one path for a while and then we switch and like to bring that all together. So
yeah. And I can tell you, I mean, if you had asked me in my early days as a lawyer or when I was clerking with the judge, I would have never thought I would have my own law firm, like ever in a million years. Like that wasn't what I was working towards,
Yeah.
I think that, this path and this journey that I went on, partially because of my choice, but partially because of, the way life hands you things that you're not always prepared for, took me on this journey. And I can honestly say that I wouldn't really change any of it. I mean, obviously, we would all wish for perfect, great health for our family and all of our loved ones, but I wouldn't change the journey because I think where I am now and who I am now is like the best version of me that I could be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For sure. And I think that's what I love. This is what I hope for this podcast too, because I think the person that you said when you were working toward before your son got sick and stuff, like you had never envisioned this.
Right.
I think there's so many things I think about that I'm like, I wouldn't even think, like I need to hear someone else's story or it needs to be like this opportunity that pops up. Like you don't even know what you don't know. And so it's like opening those, you know what I mean? Like opening that window of opportunity and you hear this and you're like, oh my God. So like any lawyer that's out there is like, it's possible. Like it's possible, and you can do it in your own way, in your own terms, your own timeline. Like it's really getting deeply honest with yourself about what that looks like for you, and separate from anyone else. So, can you talk a little bit, maybe that I love that you had that bridge. So, I think a lot of people talk like, do I need to leave? How much do I need to save to start my startup? And so you talked about you kind of got some clients. You had this like bridge before you left fully and started your practice. What did that look like? Were you like were you receiving people that were like, asking you questions and you kind of just were like, well, let me start charging for this? Or were you like, this is what I want to do? And did you outreach them? Because I think that's a lot when people leave and they've never been in their own business, like getting your first couple clients is like, how do I do that? Like, that's a real big question.
Well, it was interesting because, most people, if they're going to start their own business, then they've been working as a lawyer for many years. I had taken a hiatus. So I wasn't in the legal world at all. Now, granted, I was in this, blogging world. I was, I guess you could say, one of like the OG kids book bloggers on Instagram.
I love that. I need to look you up, by the way. Yeah. Find some of your blogs.
But I mean, I don't do it anymore, but it's been several years. But through that, I was meeting a bunch of people that needed help. Yeah. So I had that kind of, but it wasn't like, it was a couple questions here and there.
Yeah.
But when I decided that I wanted to start my own firm, and I knew that that was kind of what I needed to do because I needed that flexibility, and I needed to make more money. I mean, frankly, I got divorced, so that salary just didn't cut it. Yeah. So remember when Threads started?
Yes.
Okay. And it was like,
a year ago or two. I don't even remember.
Like
2 years.
Over 3 years ago at this point.
Oh my God.
And it was like fast and furious. Yes. Everyone was on Threads for like 2 days straight. Yes. Like all anyone was doing was looking on Threads. Well, lo and behold, I meet Stephanie Carton from Entreprenista.
Yes.
On Threads. And I'm looking at this community. And I was trying to see like what I could do, like how I could, reach out to people. Yes. And Stephanie was like, you've got to join the Entreprenista League. We have resources, other trademark lawyers, like a network. She was great. So I was like, okay. I mean, it was a big investment at the time because I wasn't really barely making money at the school. But I was like, something in me just said like, okay, like take this chance.
Yeah.
when I tell you that I credit Entreprenista for helping me build my entire business, like I'm not exaggerating. It was just this community of incredible female founders, all at different stages of their business. And so basically, when I knew that my little one had already left the school, he had gone to a special school for dyslexia. We were letting our big one stay just to finish his 5th grade year at this point. So when my little one was settled in his new school, I had 1 year left at the elementary school where I was working with my son. I said, oh, I'm going to graduate when he graduates,
I
right?
love that. So you gave yourself the timeline of like,
So I
this is
gave
it. Yeah.
myself a timeline, and I knew that in June, first week of June, I'm done at the school, but we got paid through the end of the summer. So end of August, like my paycheck's done. But I basically had about a year runway where I was working at the school, but I had a lot of downtime when I wasn't in classes. And I got out of school early. So, if I was at like a therapy appointment, I'd be working from my car or the waiting room. And I just really took the time to have virtual coffee chats with people, much like we did the way we first met, introduced myself, tried to be very visible in the community, tried to add value where I could. And really, that made all the difference. So, through that networking, and I think through honestly just kindness and curiosity,
Yeah.
being open and curious about what other people do, recognizing that there are always, there were other trademark lawyers in the community, but we've all become good friends. Like we're
Yeah.
not competing. There's enough business
There's
for all of
so
us.
much business. Yes. Right.
Right. So
Yes.
I think just really, for anyone who's trying to do the same thing, just find the right room and then go all in. And that's what I did. I mean, I joined several different communities in that first year and a half, but Entreprenista is really the one that really stuck, that I feel like I made the most genuine friends and connections, which in turn became referral partners. Also, don't go in like selling yourself and looking for business. Go in like to meet people and, to build relationships. That's what it's all about.
I do think that there's a truth among most women entrepreneurs I know, but also trying to change the thought process or the conversations out there, which is, I really do believe women look for other women, authentic relationships, but it's still kind of out there. And like the thing that you hear around social media is it's still like kind of this bro selling, like you've got to, like to get your first couple, you've got to do this. And I think the difference is at least for myself, like I want to know you, and I trust that you know what you're talking about. It's more like, do you want to work with the person? And I think that the difference is it's not necessarily fast. It's not going to be so long, but I think what I'm hearing from you is you found your place and you really focused on, and you were pretty consistent of like, this is what I do. So a lot of us are still trying to figure out like, what is the thing and who are the people we want to serve? But once you zero, and that can take as long as it takes, but
Right.
once you get that and are consistent and you're just giving, like it really does come back in
Totally. And actually, one of my friends in Entreprenista, her name is KJ Blattenbauer, and she does a lot of PR and stuff about stuff of that nature. But she talks about, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was like, well, maybe I'll do, some copywriting because I also love writing. And I was offering the trademarks, and then I was offering other kinds of, legal work. And finally, it was like when I was trying to explain what I was doing, it was like way too much. And then I was like, no, I want to do trademarks. I want to be known as trademarks. And I cut everything else out. And now if people hear my name, like they know that I do trademark work. And I think that also makes a really big difference. Like, be known for something. Like the more specific your niche, I think. And again, that's not to say you can't be like a marketing generalist or something of that nature, but I think that the more specific your niche, the more likely people are to remember it. So, people know that like if they're looking for like a land use lawyer, like that's not me,
No.
And so I think that that is something that, I learned along the way to like be known for something. What do you want to be known for and be known for that?
Thank you for saying that too, because I think I even struggled with this because I came from a consulting background. And so it was really ego driven, which was like, I can help you with that. And I think a lot of us are like, well, I can. And by saying you're not, it like sometimes was like, oh, well, you don't know how to do this. And I had to really reconcile that for myself and be like, I can, but I'm not, because I'm not the most efficient. And also, to your point, I would meet so many wonderful people, but they'd be like, I don't really know what to do. How do I recommend you? Like, I'm not exactly sure. I want people to work with you. And it makes it really hard, especially if I see a lot of people leave and they have a huge network, and that's fine. Then you can you already have a network to draw on, and you can kind of be a little bit more flexible or more of a generalist. But I find that if you're trying to build your network from scratch in this new world, you've really got to be specific on what you're doing. And your story is a prime example of that.
Exactly. I was just going to say something and totally lost my train of thought. But yes, and what you said, you said what what you can do versus what you're not going to do, essentially along those lines.
Yeah.
I also feel that it's not that you're not going to do things, but you don't need, like, I can write contracts for my clients, if they come to me and they need a specific, something that I'm obviously knowledgeable about. I'm not going to do like a trust, right?
Yeah.
But I can do certain things, but I market myself as a trademark attorney. So it's not like you're necessarily cutting everything else out, but you're being known for one thing. And then you could always do other things. But like you said, efficiency, that plays a big part in it too. Like, I can write a great contract, but I'm not as efficient. It takes a lot more time.
Yeah. And if you have a client, I love that too, because you can serve them in a variety of ways, but like, what are they buying for? And I just, for myself too, especially because I am a solopreneur, I don't want to build a big agency and like have a bunch of employees, that the mental load to try and deliver a variety of services, like when it's just you, even with AI, which helps us be a lot more efficient. But like, I just found myself, I'm like, I am like, the ROI isn't there because I have to like, just think about this and deliver. Like, mine was even down to like, because since I do financial stuff, like I was serving some product-based people and some service-based, and that's a very different business and a very different way to grow it. And I was like, I'm not even the best for them, because like, I just am not, I'm not getting like all the things that they need and proactively thinking about this business versus this business. So,
and it's so true, right? Like, someone once used the example, like, if you need to, get a mole checked on your face, you're not going to go to an orthopedist, right? You're going to go to the derm. You're going to go to someone who specializes in that. You're going to, you're going to go to like not a dermatologist who specializes in like plastics and whatever. You're going to go to like someone who's, a skin doctor.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with law, and the same thing with all of us. Like, I can do certain things. Like, doctors have medical, knowledge much more than the average person does. I have legal knowledge, but I'm not going to serve my clients well if I'm not the expert. And when someone's working with me, I want them to get the best. So I know if you come for me for your trademark and IP work, like, I'm going to give you the best. But if you want, this or that, I could help you, but I'd rather you get,
like the best, someone who's like researching this all the time. Yes,
exactly. So
I totally agree. So I love that. Now I just lost my train of thought too, because I was going to ask you something on that, but
that's okay. We're on that age, right?
Right? I know. There were just a bunch of like, who's listening anyways.
I know.
No, it goes back to the confidence thing too, which I love, because I think like, and you had mentioned this, and thank you for also stating this, because I felt the same way, is even if you've been doing something, you've trained, like I'm a CPA, I got my MBA, similarly, you had to go to law school, but there's a little bit when you go out on your own, like, like you're selling yourself for the first time when maybe the business just came to you. And so I want to name that there is going to be a confidence thing. And by narrowing who you're delivering, that is one of the ways that you can quickly get over it, because you're doing it over and over. You're repeating it more quickly. So I just want to name that too. And I think for you, can you just talk a little bit about that? How did that feel? Because you did say you weren't in law for very long. And so you went into this. Was that even there for you when you first started like interacting on Entreprenista, or?
Yeah, because I had, I was trained in trademark law. Like, that was my foundation and IP.
Yeah.
So that's what I knew. That's what I loved, but I hadn't done it for several years.
Yeah.
I had taken some time off. My kids took priority. I got divorced. That, I had other things that I really needed to focus on. So when I went back, I was terrified because I was like, why would you hire me?
There might be things that I don't know in the last couple.
But it's like riding a bike, right? So like once you start doing it again, you pick it all back up immediately. I mean, it didn't take more than like one, matter to be like, oh yeah, like this, whatever, this is great. This is easy. I know exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, you still lack confidence. When I see some of these other, trademark solopreneurs, who are killing it and wearing their like fancy shoes in their Instagram posts, and they have these like huge clients.
Yes.
Everyone gets imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what? I've got huge clients and I buy books. I don't buy fancy shoes. So like
right.
everyone, it's like, and it's all just smoke and mirrors.
It really is. And I want to say that too, because I do think that that's where the lack of, you kind of look at others. And I think there's a couple things. One, the clients that you and I serve, at least in a variety of ways, and many listeners serve, they are so happy to have, and that doesn't mean the level of service should be less, but I think, like you said, you did this work for a like big client, like you've done this. And I think a lot of times we're like people are so happy to have the help. They don't want to have to know the thing. So the level that you know versus probably the expectation of your clients is like, you had way more than that. So, but I think we see, to your point, the smoke and mirrors of others. And that's where what I hope this podcast and what I keep talking to and I keep telling myself too is because not only is that smoke and mirrors, but also I have to remind myself, like, I don't want that. Like, I don't, at this point in my life, like, it's easy for me to do the comparison game, but I'm like, but to what end? Like, I left my corporate job so that I didn't have to work 80 plus hours and I didn't want to do fast growth. I wanted to enjoy a slower summer. Like, all of that, like, comes with, okay, you're not trying to build that. So don't also compare yourself to that too. So.
Right. And again, like, and it also comes back to the fact that there's enough business to go around, and the people, my clients, the clients that love me, aren't going to necessarily love someone who is, showing all the fancy things and this and that. Or, someone who's like much more like edgy than I am, like they're going to go with a different lawyer, and that's fine. Like there's plenty, like everyone finds their person, I guess.
For sure.
It's so easy to compare ourselves. What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. So I really try to I'm so happy doing what I'm doing, and I feel so fulfilled, and I love what I'm building. But, I'm not going to grow this giant law firm. That's not my goal. I want to have a great firm, give my kids whatever they need.
Yeah. Work with clients that you enjoy, that you would want to hang out with anyways, right?
Exactly.
Yes. I agree. And that's why back to find a community that you surround yourself with others who are doing that same thing. I think that so that makes you feel like you're not behind or ahead, like others are building a similar thing. And I couldn't agree more that there's enough. It's like when I left, again, corporate, and I entered this entrepreneurial world and in this space of like earlier stage entrepreneurs up to like 10 million, there are so many businesses. There's so much work to be going on. Like there is so much to be had that it's honestly, it's not a competition, especially because there's so, like online, you're not competing in just one, like there's so much. So yes, I agree. It's like we can just learn from each other and just, that's even more so to own who you are. Yes. And like you said, own who you are, because you're right. The person that you, like you said, I don't agree, but like, okay, if somebody wants somebody edgier, fine, they might not go with you, but that means then the person who is exactly you, who loves book reading and is not looking and has like 2 kids at home or whatever, they're gonna be like, you are my person.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. I want to spend a little bit now focusing on what you are an expert on and what you've built your business around. Can you talk a little bit about, like, first of all, can you really, really dumb it down for those of us that are in business? Like, what is a trademark? Like, what should we be thinking about if we're just starting our business? And is it too soon or too late to even be thinking about that?
Okay, well, it's never too late to start.
Figured that was a softball, but I had to ask.
Never too late and never too early. So basically, a trademark is a source identifier for your business. So take a big company like Nike, right? You see the word Nike, obviously that tells you the company that's producing the product. If you see the Nike swoosh, you immediately know that it's a Nike product. If you see the words "just do it," again, you immediately know it's a Nike product. Dry Fit, Air Max, Air Jordans, like those are all Nike trademarks, and they're all source identifiers because Nike has done an amazing job of, protecting their marks and making sure no one's infringing and going after anybody who is. So your trademarks are your source identifiers. Those are the ways that people know that the services or the products that you're buying originate from, XYZ company. So I help people protect those source identifiers through filing trademark applications and then eventually getting registered.
So let's start, because there's two camps. Let's go to the product-based business that is starting a new brand separate from themselves as an individual. It's some product that they're selling. I'm stating the obvious, but it would be ideal to, before you lock in, you're thinking of a name. A lot of people get really creative and think it's really cool. There's, I'm assuming, a process. Let's check that first. Let's see if there's any, even if you don't see it online, you're like Google and you're like, no other company has that. Like, talk me through that. There's still a risk potentially, right? That
big risk. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the law, like truly the federal law in the United States, isn't just looking at identical matches when it's considering confusion in the marketplace, which is what trademarks are designed to, protect against. We don't want there to be confusion in the marketplace. People think that means, okay, well, I can't be the exact same mark as somebody else. But it's not just having an identical mark to somebody else. It's anything that could be confusingly similar. So let's say that you're Bluebird Cookies and you spell BLUEBIRD, right? And then I'm like, okay, I want to be Bluebird and I'm going to sell cookies and donuts and cakes, but I'm going to spell it BLU space BYRD. For all intents and purposes, the PTO is going to consider those as the exact same mark.
Yeah.
Because if you tell someone that you got Bluebird Cookies and then I tell someone that I got Bluebird Cookies, no one's going to stop and ask, well, which one?
Wait, that looks like there's a space there when
exactly. So people don't realize that adding the word the or dropping an E in express or adding a Z instead of an S at the end of the word, they think they're being unique and they're not. So there's a lot of things that we look at in terms of confusing similarity. We look at, the way the mark looks and feels. We look at, looks and sounds. We look at the commercial impression and connotation of the mark. We look at the target consumers. Are the people buying Bluebird cookies the same that's going to be buying Bluebird software that helps hospital with accounts receivable, right? Those might be the same mark, but they're in totally different categories and they're being sold to different people. So there might not be confusion there. Whereas if you're Bluebird Cookies and then someone wants to open like Bluebird Coffee Shop, that could be much more likely.
You might have the same customer you're really targeting for the same thing.
Well, so there's a lot of nuances that go into it that people don't realize. It's not just a quick Google search. It's not just, oh, I own the domain name, so I own the mark, or I registered my entity under this name, so I own the mark. There's a lot more to it than that. So you can work with a trademark attorney to do a full comprehensive clearance search.
I like then I say the flip side, but the inverse of that too is not just if you're thinking about it and you think it's cleared, is I think I've talked to several people who have said, oh, well, I'm not going to do this because like there's, somebody else could just come and like there's a name, they could make a name similar. And what you're saying too is that's even more reason to do it, because if you can get in and it's clear and make sure you get the trademark, you're protected against anyone who could be like
confusingly similar.
So you're actually protecting your future around anybody else who might want to do even something adjacent, which is, like I've also been in the camp, but a lot of people who, they start a domain and they'll buy all similar domains because somebody might buy it, like this is kind of protecting that from anyone that might be in your world and similar to you too.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. So let's talk about the service-based person now too. So similar, I know similar, but a lot of people will use like their name or like consulting. Is that something that you should be protecting, or is that
so names
different?
Are hard, and services are challenging only because a lot of people want to put in a descriptive term so that people know exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, like Brooke Marketing, right? Marketing, if you're a marketer, you are not going to be able to
protect marketing as
word marketing be exclusively owned by you. So it's very important to think about, words that don't necessarily describe exactly what you're doing, to be more suggestive, more, arbitrary or fanciful. Think of like Apple for computers. One has nothing to do with the other.
Yes.
Now, names are tough. Last names are very hard to register with the PTO because you can't really so many people have the same last name.
Yeah.
So there's a whole doctrine.
Yeah, like what are you protecting against? They can still use their last name in contracts. And,
right.
Yeah, okay.
There's a whole doctrine of law around surname refusals. But names are also tough because let's say you're thinking of selling your company, right? Whether it's services or products, look at someone like Bobby Brown, right?
Yeah.
She sold her incredible company, but now her name went with the company. So she can't ever use Bobby Brown for any kind of makeup again. So you have to remember that if you're building a business and you are really building it with an eye towards scaling it and then selling it, you might want to steer away from using your name because, even if you could protect your full name as, Lauren Bercuson Law, that it
limits your future
up into the name, and you might not want that down the road if you go to sell.
Yeah.
So
not
always the first choice for clients.
Well, I'm thinking about you and me. You're StoryLock Legal, right? StoryLock Legal, right? I'm Scale with Clarity, which, by the way, I haven't trademarked, so I know. But yes, I'm like, oh, okay, I have a big X. But that in itself, and we've already talked about, at least now, I have no intention of growing this like a solopreneur business. I don't necessarily want to sell, but having options because we also said you have so many seasons of life that you don't know, like when your kids are young, maybe when they get older, maybe I want to do something different and someone has an interest in the business and I want to do something different. So I can be me separate from what I'm building as one area of me, just like you have your legal thing, but you love reading and maybe blogging in the future. So not tying yourself to that so much that it allows flexibility. So I like that nuance of it too. And you're a great example of that.
Yeah. And another reason why I didn't want to be, Lauren Bercuson Law, I also felt that as a trademark lawyer, I wanted to be an example of what, makes a mark for clients. My name StoryLock is totally, it's a made up word. I always say that every good trademark tells a whole story and I help my clients lock those stories in, right? For legacies. So for future generations. So
you're like, how could I have to walk the walk the walk.
But it benefit me because people remember, like the story lawyer, like who's one, and then people know who I am, right? No one will remember Lauren Bercuson Law. Like my name's a mouthful.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Cunninger. So
yeah, I get
it. It's like, I know. Okay, then last question for you too. So we've talked a lot about words and the name of the company. What about you've alluded to this a little bit. So just a mark, the swoosh we said too, that's also something separately that you can and should be protecting. And is that separate from the name or is that locked together?
You definitely can. And it really depends on what your visual identity looks like. So think about, Nike has the swoosh. Lululemon has that swirl thing that they show all the time without the name next to it. If you have an icon like that really in and of itself without any words is a source identifier, you definitely want to protect it. But then there are other companies where their name is really incorporated into their logo, right? And in that case, you also should protect your logo, but really the first thing that you always want to do is protect the word mark, which means protect the words of your name. Even right now, my name's StoryLock Legal. I have my words protected. I still haven't filed my logo application yet, just because it was new. I wanted to make sure that it stuck, that I liked it, because essentially if you protect your words, then you can stylize them however you want because the words themselves are protected.
So it's not based on the font that you submitted.
Exactly. Whereas if you protect your logo only, right, and not the words themselves, you're only protecting that visual identity.
So if it changes slightly.
Exactly. So down the road, if you're like, we need a refresh, like our visuals aren't working, like we need a whole like modern update. Well, if you stop using the logo that you registered and that was the only registration you had, now you've just lost all of your trademark protection.
Yeah.
So when my clients come to me, we kind of look at what they have, where they're going, what their budgets are, because that's always, primary consideration. And we go from there. I always suggest word mark first if you can. Sometimes I have some companies that have been using their marks for like 10 years and they're like, we're not going to change our name. But their name might be hard to get as a registration if it's confusingly similar to something or, could be deemed similar. So sometimes we'll add in, we'll file for a logo instead because their logo's super distinct. So there's all different ways and things you can do it. But
I love that. And you said this at the beginning, we talked about this too, like you're very approachable and you make it very easy to understand. And what I'm also getting is like every story is unique. So you don't, especially you don't approach it in this is exactly what you should do. So anyone listening should have a conversation with you, right? Like maybe depending on where you are in your business, what the product is you're creating, what your marks and like what your investment, like it can be all different, but it doesn't mean you have to do everything or you should do nothing. It's really nuanced. And so a conversation is always what I'm hearing is beneficial. So let's just talk through it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then with that said, how could people reach out to you? Where do they find you? What's the best way to contact you?
Yes, you can find me on my website is Storylock Legal, spelled exactly the way it sounds.
Which we'll put in the show notes. Okay.
Legal, yes. I'm on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out most of the time. Under Lauren Bercuson, which again also will be in the show notes because I know it's a little hard to spell, Bercuson. And then I did recently start a TikTok account at the urging of my 13-year-old who said I had to be on TikTok, and he did research and found that there were a lot of entrepreneurs there. So,
I have heard that. We need to talk offline too. I need to hear more about this.
So I have to say, I started a TikTok account. And I was very active for like the first month, but then I was at like away for a conference and then we moved and we had a lot of stuff going on. So I've kind of taken like a hiatus for a little bit, but I definitely will get back into it. I got clients already from it and it was in like a short period of time.
I was just talking to a coach who just went onto TikTok. She's active on LinkedIn and she's like, I wanted to try. And she said it's been blowing up like wonderful. She's gotten a bunch of clients already from that.
Yeah. So I'm there too at Storylock Legal. I'm also on Instagram, but I'm not very active on Instagram.
Lauren, thank you so much. I loved our conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and then also your expertise, which I know scares a lot of people. And I hope they leave this knowing that it's not overwhelming and there's people out there that can help them and that they should get help because there's me, one of them. Obviously, you can put yourself at risk for what you're trying to build. So thank you for coming on and making the time.
Welcome. It was so great to see you again. And I'm so glad I was able to have the conversation.
Me too. Me too.
Take care.
Hey there. If this episode sparks something for you, I'd really love to know. Shoot me an email or leave me a comment on the episode. Those messages really do mean more to me than you realize. And if you're craving more clarity in your business or your career, you can explore ways to work together at www.scalewithclarity.com. You guys, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the episode. I always love recording these and sharing them with you and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Scale with Clarity.